Well, all right. Hello, everyone, and happy Tuesday. It's digital host A.J. Wuest here, welcoming you back to Before the Four. Of course, the live stream where I go through some of 48's top news stories, and then some before our 4 o'clock newscast, wherever you're watching Before the Four this afternoon, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube, or the 48 Now live stream. Thank you so much for watching and spending just a bit of your Tuesday afternoon here. Now, we had a very, very cold weekend, and that is certainly an understatement. Today, we are going to lead it off with our own Jada Russell. Jada, what's on the radar this week?
Well, thankfully, we're starting to see things warm up a good deal. As you can see behind me outside, things are nice and gorgeous out the door, but still on the cooler side of things. We're a little close to our average now. So temperatures at the moment around 40 degrees. You can see 565 flowing smoothly. Lots of folks getting out on the roadway. But here's what we're expecting for the next few hours. A lot of our temperatures are expected to drop as we go into the overnight hours. We'll start to see some of those 20s instead of teens, which is good to note because our roadways need that. We've also seen them warm up a good deal today as well. So that's good to note for a lot of our northwestern communities and a lot of areas that still had some patchy ice. I know some bridges and elevated roadways still had some patchy ice around the valley. So it's good to know that we're seeing a little bit of a warm up, but going into these overnight hours will also accrue a good deal of cloud cover going into the overnight hours. That should clear out as you get ready for your Wednesday morning. So we'll see those 20s around. Feel like temperatures could be right around those low-end 20s, upper teens for some of our northern folks. But again, this is a look at our roadway temperatures at the moment. Nice, warm, in the 40s as well, so it's good to see that. And as we go into our current temperatures, what we're expecting is still seeing these 30s around for a good portion of the afternoon, getting into those later evening hours like I showed you, seeing those 20s. And we have a second Arctic blast on deck for the following weekend, this upcoming weekend actually, and we are tracking a slight chance for some flurries, but tune in 4, 5, 6, and 10. I will be watching that, keeping a bird's eye view on everything for you. I'll send it back to AJ.
All right, well, you heard it here, Arctic blast moving in. Jada, I do not like those words, but I greatly appreciate it, as always. That is certainly good to know. And Jada, it is also nice to not only see you, but also hear you this afternoon. 100%. We got the technical difficulties worked out, so if you watched the stream Friday, I apologize. You could not hear our own Jada Russell, but it was great to hear her this afternoon. And y'all already know the drill. 48 First Alert Weather Extra. That is tonight at 9:30, streamed right here wherever you're watching Before the Four right now. Of course, our First Alert Chief Meteorologist, Brad Travis, he will go through the radar. He'll work to find the answer to any questions, concerns, comments you have. So feel free to leave them, but you're just not going to want to miss it. 48 First Alert Weather Extra. But now we're going to jump into some of the day's top stories, and starting things off in Decatur, where a person was killed and another injured after a wreck early this morning. Now, officials say the crash happened at the intersection of Alabama 24 and Old Highway 24. When first responders arrived on the scene, they found an unresponsive driver trapped inside the car. Now, that driver was later pronounced dead. The driver of the second car was taken to an area hospital with minor injuries. The wreck remains under investigation, and the driver at this time has not been identified. But of course, we'll keep you updated both online and on air as we learn more. But now in Hanceville, where earlier today we learned that the mayor has resigned effective immediately. Now, Paul Campbell announced his resignation this morning. In his letter posted to Facebook, Campbell cites juggling the stress behind the job while managing his grief following the passing of his wife, Kyla, back in April. Now, as a major reason behind this decision, you can read his full letter right now on our website. Just go to WAFF.com. And with that, we're going to head to break, but coming up, a story, in case you missed it, regarding a church daycare worker facing child sex abuse charges in Hanceville, and a sweet story you're just not going to want to miss. It's all ahead. We'll go through it all in 1 minute. All right, break time over, y'all. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Before the Four. And now in Hanceville with the story in case you missed it. A church daycare worker is facing charges of child sex abuse after he was arrested last week. Nick Ballinger reports.
A dark cloud hanging over heads of Trinity United Methodist Church congregation as they learned one of their now former daycare instructors was arrested for sexually abusing a child under the age of 12. Head pastor Reverend Dr. Diedrich Kauser said it happened at the church's Child Development Center on Wednesday.
We are just heartbroken and devastated by the news of what has happened. Because at Trinity, we take the seriousness of the sacredness of children and caring for them seriously.
Kauser said 24-year-old Cameron White had worked as an instructor there for 5 years. Kauser says there were complaints and allegations against White, which led them to watch him more closely. Police now have 21 days worth of security footage to review.
We have a responsibility to continue to shepherd the people who are part of this congregation and a part of our CDC community.
On Friday, parents met with investigators. Attorney Will League was inside with his clients.
My clients want answers, and they asked me to come to this meeting with them to try and help them get those answers. The parents were naturally concerned, and several of them had questions surrounding the background of this particular employee and any prior complaints of this particular employee.
Kauser said White's background check came back clean over the past 5 years.
The church has its own policies and standards as well as far as background checks and things of that nature. But because we are a DHR center, there's even a higher standard for that.
But there's still more questions surrounding this case. Prosecutors say more charges are likely. We'll continue to bring the latest. In Huntsville, Nick Ballinger, 48 on your side.
And of course, we'll continue to bring you the latest on this situation as we continue to learn more. Nick Ballinger staying on this story this afternoon, and he'll have all the latest coming up in our 4 o'clock newscast. But now let's turn to the good side. And earlier today, y'all heard from our own Jada Russell. Our meteorologists, of course, have been working around the clock to keep you informed and safe. And now, on a lighter note, we want to introduce you to a Met in training out in Texas. Olivia Hertzberg shares the story of a daddy-daughter duo doing their part to keep others informed. Let's check it out.
Reporting live. This is Hazel and Kristen. I decided to grab my trampoline. It seems like it dies, and it's cracking!
While most of Central Texas is staying inside and keeping warm during this winter storm, 7-year-old Hazel Ann Talbert is doing something quite different. She's out in the elements like us, reporting live on weather conditions from her backyard in Clifton, bundled up and ready to go.
She is eager to get outside, bundle up, and tell the world how it is. So I'm bundled up with her, and she always outlasts me, reporting the weather as the daddy-daughter weather watchers, as we've started calling ourselves.
And they've had some furry help along the way.
Thank you, Teddy. Thank you, Teddy, for that live sports update. Now we go to Hazel Ann with our weather update.
When Hazel Ann isn't out reporting, she and her family are doing a winter movie marathon and sipping hot chocolate. Her dad, Taylor, says Hazel Ann has always been an explorer at heart.
He learned the word meteorologist today, but I won't speak for you, Hazel. Correct me if I'm wrong. She loved science in any shape or form, and loves the outdoors. And so combining outdoors and science is the key. And I said, you know what? I think I know about a career for you,
Even as an aspiring young meteorologist, Hazel Ann still has some questions about how weather works for the experts.
I know snow is snow, but what is that made? Like, how does it be? I don't know. How does it just be? No.
Just one way the Talberts are staying active and warm as Central Texas faces the winter storm.
We'll keep you live and updated from the daddy-daughter weather team.
Yeah.
Reporting, I'm Olivia Hersberg, KWTX News 10.
That's what I'm talking about right there. Awesome, awesome story. And that is the good side. Always like to end it on a good note. But now let's go into the stories you're just not going to want to miss coming up in our evening newscast. Speaking with the family impacted by a massive house fire over the weekend in Lawrence County, Aria Pons will have that story coming up. State lawmakers working to make roads a little bit safer here in Alabama with more regulations on police chases. And finally, a new bill passes the Alabama House that would give the death penalty to child predators. And these are just a few of the stories you're just not going to want to miss coming up in our evening newscast. And y'all know what time it is. It is, of course, time for Facebook fun. Our 48 Facebook question today. What's a smell that instantly takes you back to your childhood? And y'all had awesome comments. Y'all had so many comments. I believe I have about 10 comments queued up in here. So let's just jump in to what you all had to say. Juicy fruit gum. Absolutely the smell of some sweet, juicy fruit gum. Gotta love it. Leslie said ballpark popcorn. Ain't nothing like that. Ballpark popcorn. Of course, ballpark nachos, ballpark hot dogs. It's all good. I like it all. Scott Simmons said fresh cut grass. That takes me instantly back to my childhood. Of course, playing football, playing baseball, cutting the grass. I used to cut the grass for the homeowners association. Great times. I love that smell. Play-Doh. That's another big one. Takes me right back to preschool. Takes me back to kindergarten. We're playing with Play-Doh in the class and at home. Rotting pepper we had to pick. All right, interesting stuff there. Doug said smelling sweet rolls on Saturday morning. Oh, yeah, gotta love those sweet rolls. Ain't nothing like it. 100%. Jeremy Presley, funnel cakes, takes you right back to the state fair, back to the fair. Great memories at the fair growing up, eating those funnel cakes, those fried Oreos. Anything fried, I'll eat it. Billy said peach cobbler. Me growing up in Georgia, definitely have had my fair share of some peach cobbler. Honeysuckles, Mackenzie Green Pickett said honeysuckles. I love it. I used to suck the honey right out of those honeysuckles 100% growing up. Hannah said chlorine. My Nana had a pool. Yep, the smell of chlorine gets stuck in your hair. You'll smell that chlorine for days. Great times. Reminds me of the summer. What was that last one? Oh my gosh, I completely skipped over it. Crayons in a school box. Jeremiah Pagan said crayons in a school box. And that leads to another question. How do you pronounce that word crayons? I always say crayons or crayons. But when I was up in college, I remember people from the Midwest, the Missouris, the Kansases, they would always pronounce them as crowns. But I had no idea what they were talking about. Like, when I think crown, I think of, like, what a king wears on his head, not what you color with back in elementary school. But very interesting choice right there. Like I said, I always say crayons or crayons. Have never really used crowns. But, we all pronounce things differently depending on what region we are from. There's a lot of different words, the caramels, the caramels, and I could go on and on. But y'all, it is 3:54. We are going to cut Before the Four a little bit short this afternoon. That is just about all she wrote for Before the Four this Tuesday afternoon. But I hope you all have a great afternoon this afternoon. Enjoy our evening newscasts. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You all have a great night.